Brady doesn't want WEEI host Alex Reimer fired after the negative comments Reimer made about his 5-year-old daughter, calling her a pissant. Will Cain still here with us. Stephen A., I'll start with you on this one. How would you have handled this if you were in Brady's situation?
Directly the way that Brady did, I thought he handled it pretty perfectly. I would not call for the gentleman to be fired. People do make mistakes. Even if it's intentional, doesn't mean it wasn't a mistake. The bottom line is that you're thinking about somebody's career, and although the remark was classless, distasteful, immature, the bottom line is, you know, I would hope that he wouldn't lose his job for it. What I will say, however, is that to the guy at WEEI, it was a 5-year-old child. What are you thinking? A 5-year-old child. We understand that in this day and age, almost nothing is off limits, but you'd like to believe that children would be. And unfortunately, that wasn't the case here. As it pertains to WEEI, it's a situation that they're going to have to address at some point in time. Whether it's Brandon Marshall walking off, I had an issue with one of their hosts, you know, a few months ago. I went on there to talk about Tom Brady, and he brought up Mayweather and, you know, accused me of condoning domestic violence and all this coming out of nowhere, stuff like that. And, you know, and those two incidences are not the only incidences that, you know, stuff like this has happened. I've been a guest on that radio show on many occasions. A lot of those guys are highly knowledgeable about the world of sports, incredibly committed to their jobs, and as a station, they may not deserve to have any aspersions cast upon them as a collective unit. But when you've got a couple of guys that are hell-bent on being knuckleheads, misrepresenting what they want to talk to you about, trying to blindside you and engage in gotcha moments or anything like that, and they start conducting themselves in a certain way, particularly when it comes to bringing up a 5-year-old child of a star quarterback, universally recognized, one of the greatest ever, who comes on your show on a weekly basis and has presented himself as a model of decorum throughout his career, for you to feel the need to do that, it says something about you and those that represent your brand. It said something about your brand if you continue to allow them to get away with that. So it wasn't allowed. He was suspended, and I don't think he should be fired, but it's something that they need to think about moving forward.
Tom Brady handled this situation perfectly. Yeah. Like, I'd like to hope that if I were in his position, I could handle it as well as he handled it. First of all, he didn't just stop calling the radio station. He called in to tell them personally, I mean, over the phone, but in his normal way, he didn't avoid them. He confronted it. He politely and firmly told them his problem with what they did. He explained to them the consequence of their behavior, and he got off the phone. That was the menschy thing to do. That was he's a real person. Mensch in Yiddish means human being in the best sense of the word. That is precisely how he should handle that as a person and as a father. And then when asked about it, he said he hopes the guy doesn't lose his job. He recognized it for what it is, didn't allow his anger over this situation where he is justifiably upset to color his thinking in a way that would make him react out of proportion. And even if you think it wouldn't have been out of proportion, in that case, have enough empathy to think, I don't want the guy to lose his job over this. I wouldn't, you know, everyone makes mistakes. That's a mistake that he made. I hope he doesn't lose his job over it. And even the way he said it seemed genuine. It didn't seem, because I've seen athletes in the past where someone in the media has slipped up, and even as they're kind of accepting the apology, or, you know, you could see that they want something bad to happen to that person. The way they're doing it is kind of in a passive-aggressive way. That is not what Tom Brady did. I have enormous admiration for the way he handled this entire situation. Bravo, Tom Brady.
Yeah, clouds part. We all agree. Wow. Perfection. And I think you nailed both the parts that were perfect, Max. The handling it man-to-man, face-to-face as it is in radio. And then what happened afterwards to me is the most important part, because this guy, his name is Alex Reimer, I don't think he should lose his job. And Tom doesn't either. And I think Tom going to bat for the guy that offended him is a sign of somebody with real backbone, real integrity. He shouldn't lose his job over this. Here's the chewy part. If we get past the part where we all know that Tom Brady did exactly the right thing, the question is, when have you put your family out there and subject to criticism? You know, because the argument is, if you have a reality show and your kids or your family are in the reality show, have you not opened yourself up to this? We've talked about this, by the way, when it comes to LeVar Ball, have we not? And I think the answer is this. When Tom Brady does this, it's a great documentary, by the way, he's got to know this potentially can come. But that doesn't give every moron a license to do it, right? Then we can go at the guy who does it and say, whoa, 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 don't you have any integrity? Don't you have any judgment? Don't you have any ability to know calling a 5-year-old a pissant is a little bit over the line? Well, a little bit, I'm being sarcastic, well over the line. Don't you know that? But in the end, as much as we all know these things, as much as Tom might have put his life out there, as much as this guy was wrong to do it, he shouldn't be fired. It's too big of punishment for honestly too small a crime. You come after my kids, I'm going to be mad. But I don't want you fired.
Stephen A., you brought up going on that state, like in any, you need to know who you're talking to. If you go on like Michael Holley's radio show, nothing like that will happen.
I'm not having that problem.
Right.
I'm not having that problem. He's one of my best friends. He's one of my best friends in the business. Yeah, you do have to know who you're talking to. You do have to know who you're talking to. But in the same breath, you also got to understand something. Again, think about this for a second. If we talk about the Ball family, for example, when we got on the kids, it was because you're relative, you're beyond teenage years, and you got yourself in trouble. So all of a sudden, you became a subject. Who doesn't know not to talk about a 5-year-old child?
Right.
You understand that, and that's where, and so there's a level of core decency that even when you expect the world, the cynical world that we're living in, there's certain things that it's not beyond the pale to expect somebody to know better than to go out and to call out a 5-year-old child. That is a problem. It really, really is.